Mr. Harrington was a billionaire, the kind of man who could buy a private island without blinking. Yet every night he stood in his grand hallway like a lost guest in his own mansion, listening to his twin daughters refuse sleep. He had hired 5 nannies, paying each more than most people earned in a decade, just to help his girls, Sophia and Elena, find rest, and every single one had failed. Sophia and Elena did not cry like ordinary children. They did not ask for water or plead for one more bedtime tale. They did something far worse. They stayed wide awake, giggling, racing through rooms, toppling lamps and books like sleep was a monster they refused to surrender to. Every night followed the same painful pattern. Harrington in his tailored suit, tie undone, phone vibrating with urgent deals he could not answer, because upstairs, the girls were still awake. Bare feet slapping marble floors, furniture dragging, doors banging shut. And Harrington whispering the same empty promise to himself, tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow never came. Then Maria arrived. She was not a nanny. She was not a child psychologist. She was not on any elite agency list Harrington had approved. She was simply the new housekeeper, quiet, unassuming, steady, with calloused hands that spoke of years carrying burdens far heavier than laundry baskets, and eyes that never wavered when the girls turned wild. In under an hour, Sophia and Elena did what they had not done in over a year. They stopped racing. They sat still. They drew close to her. And they fell asleep, peacefully, without bribes, threats, or raised voices. Harrington should have felt pure relief. Instead, a quiet fear crept in. Because it made no sense. It felt as if Maria already understood what his daughters were truly battling, as if she had soothed children who stayed awake out of deep, unspoken fear before, as if she knew how to build calm in a place that felt unsafe. 2 nights later, a fierce storm rolled in. Lightning cracked the sky, thunder rattled the windows. Harrington heard Maria telling them a different kind of story, not about princesses or magical forests, but about howling wind, freezing rain, endless highways, and water that rushed beneath concrete forever. A place under an overpass where you learn to sleep with one eye open, always listening. Harrington edged closer. Maria stopped mid-sentence, as though she had nearly revealed too much. 2 days after that, Sophia walked into Harrington's study, climbed onto his leather chair like it belonged to her, and said in a small voice that carried impossible weight, "Dad, Maria sleeps under a bridge." In that instant, something inside Harrington went still. The woman bringing peace to his daughters every night had no safe place to go when she left his gates. But Harrington did not yet know the deepest truth. Maria's secret was not only about where she slept. It was about why she returned there, and what she was still fleeing. The 5th nanny did not argue or weep. She simply gathered her things and left. The heavy front door closed with a finality that echoed through the halls. Harrington remained frozen, still in the suit that cost more than most people's homes. He was a billionaire, yet he felt utterly powerless, because upstairs, his twin daughters were awake again. Sophia and Elena were 7. Long past bedtime, they should have been dreaming. Instead, the ceiling carried their chaos, footsteps pounding, toys crashing against walls, laughter too sharp for the late hour. Mrs. Langley, the longtime housekeeper, waited at the foot of the stairs. Her tone was gentle. "Sir, there is someone in the kitchen." She came for the housekeeping position. "A housekeeper," Harrington repeated, as if the word had nothing to do with the real problem. "We've tried 5 nannies," Mrs. Langley said quietly. "They all leave." Harrington pressed fingers to his temple. The agencies had sworn miracles. The resumes were impressive. The fees were astronomical. Yet night after night, the same war raged, ever since their mother's accident. Nights had become punishment, and Harrington felt the silence of empty rooms judging him. "Bring her in," he said. In the kitchen, a woman stood near the small table. Plain uniform, short sleeves, shoes worn at the heels but clean, rough hands folded calmly in her lap until she rose. Her face was serene, not smiling, not stern. "Good evening, sir. My name is Maria." Harrington studied her. No polished speech, no rehearsed explanations, no trembling nerves, just a steady gaze, then a respectful lowering of her eyes. "You understand this job is not only cleaning," he said. Maria nodded once. "I understand, sir." A loud crash echoed from upstairs, followed by a girl's shout, then more laughter. Harrington's throat tightened. Maria simply listened, as though counting each sound, judging none. He led her to the living room. Sophia was sprawled on the rug. Elena was scaling a bookshelf like it was a cliff. A stuffed animal sailed through the air, bounced off the sofa. When the girls saw their father, they did not pause. Harrington tried. "Girls, it's late." Sophia shrugged. "We're not sleepy." Elena added, "We don't sleep." Harrington had heard those words too many times. He gestured toward Maria. "This is Maria. She will work here." Elena groaned. "Another nanny." Maria did not correct them. She did not demand respect. She simply walked forward, set her small bag down, and lowered herself to the rug as though the floor was hers. Then she drew out an old book, cover worn, corners frayed. Sophia stared. "That book looks old and ugly." Maria replied softly, "Simple things often hold the best words." She opened it and began a story, not dramatic, not rushed. Her voice carried a gentle rhythm, like waves on a quiet shore. She shifted tones for different characters, used her hands to paint scenes in the air. At first, the twins kept moving. Elena slid down the shelf, kicked a toy, pretended indifference. Sophia rolled across the rug, still restless. But their eyes kept drifting back to Maria. She did not chase their attention. She stayed with the story, calm and constant. Minutes passed. Elena stopped pacing. Sophia stopped giggling. Neither noticed their own silence. Elena stepped closer, curious about the book with no pictures. Sophia followed, stubborn but drawn in. Maria reached into her bag again and pulled out two small wooden birds, simple carvings she had made herself. She let them fly across her palm as the story continued. Sophia gave a small, surprised laugh. Elena leaned in, mouth slightly open. The vast room, the crystal chandelier, the silk drapes, the marble floors, faded behind Maria's quiet voice. Sophia sat. Elena sat beside her. Their shoulders relaxed. A toy slipped from Elena's hand and stayed on the floor. Maria continued, leaving gentle pauses, giving their minds room to breathe. When one girl shifted, she did not scold, she simply kept the story flowing. Sophia rested her head against Maria's knee. Elena curled against her side. Their bodies grew heavy with the exhaustion they had fought so long. Harrington stood in the doorway, afraid even to breathe loudly. He had paid fortunes for this. He had begged experts. Maria did it as though it were ordinary. The story ended. Maria did not rush. She let the girls settle deeper. Their breathing slowed. Sophia's wooden bird fell from her fingers. Elena's eyes closed, fluttered open once, then closed forever. Maria lifted Sophia carefully and placed her on the sofa. Then Elena beside her. She drew a soft blanket over them, tucking it gently around their shoulders. Harrington stepped forward, voice hushed. "How did you do that?" Maria looked up. Her eyes held no pride. "They were tired," she said simply. "They just needed to feel safe." Those words struck Harrington hard. Safe. As though rest was not a command, but a sanctuary. That night, Harrington checked on the girls 3 times, though he told himself not to. They did not stir. The house was quiet in a way it had not been since before the accident. The next evening, Maria did not wait for chaos. After dinner, she dimmed the lights, left one warm lamp glowing, spread a thick blanket in the corner, and sat. She did not summon the girls. Sophia came first, rubbing her eyes as though reluctant to admit tiredness. Elena followed, dragging a stuffed rabbit by one ear. They sat close to Maria without prompting, like an unspoken promise had been made. Harrington watched from the shadows of the hallway. Relief washed over him, but it felt shadowed by something new, the fear of depending on someone he did not fully understand. 2 nights later, rain lashed the windows. Thunder boomed. Sophia and Elena woke frightened and ran from their room. Harrington hurried after them, but stopped at the living room threshold. Maria was already there, blanket open, arms ready. The girls crawled beneath it, pressing close. Maria began to speak, but this story was different, no playfulness. Her words were slow, grounded. She spoke of bitter wind, roaring traffic overhead, water that never ceased moving. Harrington's skin prickled. It did not sound imagined. It sounded remembered. Maria's voice dropped lower. Under the overpass, you learn to sleep even when the world won't let you. Harrington took a step closer. Maria noticed him and the words died. The next morning, Harrington woke before dawn, not from an alarm, but from the unnatural stillness. For so long, silence had meant trouble. Now it felt like a mystery. He opened the girl's door quietly. Sophia and Elena slept, faces peaceful. Harrington lingered, watching their gentle breathing, as though testing if peace could truly last. Downstairs, Maria was sweeping, slow, unhurried. At breakfast, Sophia ate her toast without complaint. Elena asked for more juice. Neither seemed wired or angry. Mrs. Langley stared in quiet amazement. Harrington tried to focus on his phone, on meetings, but his gaze kept drifting to Maria. She stood by the counter, hands busy, listening when the girls spoke as though their words carried weight. When Sophia dropped her fork, Maria rinsed it and placed it back in her small hand. Elena pointed at Maria's bag. Is the old book still in there? Maria nodded. Always. Read it now, Sophia asked. Maria glanced at the clock. After breakfast, she said calmly. Sophia opened her mouth to protest, then closed it. She nodded, accepting a new kind of boundary, one that did not wound. Harrington watched, and his mind returned to the storm night. Maria's voice had shifted, real and raw, then stopped when she saw him. He told himself it was only a tale to soothe frightened children. Still, the words lingered like frost. He cancelled meetings that day. Work felt distant. The house sounded softer, fewer crashes, more gentle voices. It felt like someone had finally turned down the volume on grief. In the afternoon, he passed the laundry room and paused. Maria was folding towels. Sophia and Elena sat on the floor, sorting socks into careful piles, treating the task like serious work. Elena held up a pink sock. This one is lonely. Maria smiled faintly. Then find its match. Sophia found the pair and placed them together. Now it's not lonely anymore. Harrington felt a lump rise in his throat. Since their mother died, the twins had changed overnight. At night, noise became their shield, keeping more loss away. Harrington had tried everything: nannies, therapists, sleep specialists. The girls only grew louder. Maria had brought nothing but an old book, a blanket, and time. When Harrington stepped inside, the girls looked up. "Dad," Sophia said, "Maria tells the best stories." Elena nodded. "Her stories make my mind stop racing." Harrington swallowed. "That's good." Maria kept folding, but her shoulders tensed slightly, as though she felt the weight of the moment. Harrington wanted to ask about the overpass. He did not. He feared the girls hearing, feared Maria fleeing. That evening, the twins asked for the corner ritual early. Maria dimmed the lights, spread the blanket. Sophia lay with her head on Maria's lap. Elena curled against her arm. Maria told a story about two sisters who shared one blanket when the dark felt too wide. When the girls fell asleep, Maria carried them to bed one by one. Harrington met her near their door. "Thank you," he said quietly. Maria nodded. "They are good girls. They weren't always like this," Harrington said before he could stop. Maria paused, then answered softly. "They are still girls, sir. They are just frightened." That word, frightened, settled in Harrington like lead. He wanted to admit he was frightened too. He could not. Near 10, Maria washed her hands at the sink, wiped the counter, picked up her bag. Mrs. Langley handed her the week's pay. Maria thanked her and moved toward the door. Harrington stepped from his study. "Maria," she turned. "Yes, sir." He had planned a simple question. "Where do you go? Do you need a ride?" But the words caught. He forced calm. "If you need anything, tell Mrs. Langley." Maria nodded. "I will." She opened the door and stepped into the night. Harrington moved to the window, watching her cross the long driveway. She glanced both ways before stepping onto the street. A bus pulled up. She boarded quickly. The lights carried her away. Harrington stared after it. He told himself it was caution. But the truth was sharper. He needed to know where she went, because the overpass line haunted him. On the third day, Harrington sat at his desk, papers ignored. The girls were meant to be in the playroom. Instead, he heard their footsteps. They appeared in the doorway, side by side, determined. Sophia spoke first. "Dad, Maria told us something." Harrington's pen stilled. "What did she say?" Elena answered, eyes serious. "When she leaves here, she goes to her place under the overpass." Harrington felt ice in his stomach. "Did she say it like a story?" Sophia shook her head. "No, Dad, she said it's real." Elena added, "There's wind, and you always hear water. She has a mattress, but it's thin and on the ground. She keeps her book in her bag so it stays dry." Harrington could not speak. The storm night replayed, Maria's voice turning real, then halting when she saw him. "Did she say why?" he asked. Both girls shook their heads. Sophia said, "She didn't want to talk more. She just said she goes there." Elena whispered, "I wanted to tell her she can sleep here, but she said maybe someday." Then the girls left, as though they had delivered an important message. Harrington sat alone, papers meaningless. Under the overpass, the air in his office felt thinner. He thought of Maria walking into the cold, and of his daughters sleeping peacefully upstairs. Money had built this mansion, but it had not built safety. If she slept outside, then he was part of the deception too. He stood, grabbed his keys, and walked out, because for the first time, being a billionaire felt meaningless, and he needed to see the truth himself. Harrington told no one where he was going. He stepped into the cold night, closed the door softly behind him. The house remained quiet. Sophia and Elena slept, and that quiet followed him like a caution. He drove without music. Streetlights moved over his hands on the wheel. Sophia's words repeated. "Maria sleeps under a bridge." He tried to rationalize. Perhaps the girls misunderstood. Perhaps it was a metaphor. But the storm night returned, her voice real, then silenced. He searched for nearby overpasses above water. One was not far, an old industrial stretch near the river. He had never been there. He went now. The city shifted as he drove, polished avenues giving way to cracked pavement, shuttered storefronts, flickering signs. Under the overpass, traffic rumbled overhead. The river flowed below, dark and steady. Wind cut through the open space. He parked and waited. Below were shapes, tarps, cardboard, bundles. A small fire flickered in a drum. Then he saw her. Maria stood near a pillar, wearing her uniform beneath a thick coat. Her hair was tied the same way. She held a small flashlight, checking the ground carefully. A young teenage girl sat nearby on a crate, shivering. Maria steadied a cup of water for her, gentle as she had steadied Alina's spoon. Harrington stepped out. Gravel crunched. Maria turned instantly. Fear flashed across her face. Not fear of job loss, but of being exposed in a place she could never explain. "Mr. Harrington," she said. "Maria." He raised a hand, palm open. "I'm not here to judge." "You shouldn't be here," she replied. "The girls told me." Maria looked down, then up. "They're children. They talk. They talked because they care," Harrington said. "They didn't mean to hurt you." Maria's jaw tightened. Wind pressed her coat against her. The river smell hung thick. "This isn't your world," she said. Harrington glanced around. "It shouldn't be anyone's." The teenage girl watched quietly, eyes moving between Harrington's suit and Maria's face. "Is she family?" Harrington asked. Maria shook her head. "Her name is Lila. She stays near here. She gets sick when it's cold." "You take care of her," Harrington said. Maria nodded. "Someone once took care of me. So I do what I can." Harrington saw the thin mattress by the pillar, the patched blanket, Maria's worn book tucked safe in her bag. His chest tightened. Not pity, but respect laced with anger at a world that allowed this. "Why do you come back here?" he asked. Maria's eyes hardened. "Shelters fill up. Rooms cost money. Landlords want things I can't give." Harrington frowned. "What things?" Maria hesitated, then said plainly, "I ran. I left a man." She stopped. Her gaze went to the river. Harrington did not press. The words painted enough. "Maria, you don't have to return to this," he said. She gave a short, joyless laugh. "You say that now. But big houses talk. They look at me like trouble." Harrington felt the truth sting. He knew how people like him could judge. Still, he thought of Sophia and Elena sleeping softly for the first time in months. "I won't send you away," he said. Maria stared, wanting to believe but afraid. Harrington nodded toward Lila. "You can't leave her alone." "Not alone," Maria agreed. "Then come with me for a short talk," Harrington said. "A diner nearby. 10 minutes. You decide what happens next." Maria looked at Lila, then nodded. 10 minutes. Harrington waited while Maria tucked the blanket around Lila, left water close, spoke softly. Lila's breathing eased. Maria picked up her bag and followed him to the car. She sat rigid in the passenger seat, hands clasped. Harrington drove to a quiet all-night diner. The waitress glanced at his suit, at Maria, then away. He chose a back booth. Tea for Maria, coffee for himself. Maria stared at her hands, menu untouched. When they were alone, Harrington said, "I'm sorry." Maria shrugged. "Sorry doesn't change nights. It can change what comes next," he replied. Maria looked up, eyes weary but clear. "What do you want?" "The truth," Harrington said. "Not for gossip. For safety. For my daughters. For you." Maria pressed her lips together, then spoke. "I'm afraid of being found. I'm afraid my past will walk into your house and your girls will see it." Harrington's voice lowered. "Someone is looking for you." Maria nodded. "I saw him last week. Near the bus stop close to your neighborhood." He watched. He didn't approach. Harrington felt cold spread. "Why didn't you tell me?" Maria's eyes filled. "Because you would send me away. And Sophia and Elena would lose the only thing that quiets their nights." Harrington sat back. The booth felt smaller. Outside, the diner sign hummed. Inside, plates clinked, people laughed, none aware of the weight at this table. He met her gaze. "You're not alone anymore." Maria wiped a tear quickly, ashamed. "Don't promise what you can't keep." "I can keep it," Harrington said. Then the bell above the door rang. Maria's head snapped up so fast her chair scraped. Harrington turned slowly. A man in a dark coat stood in the doorway, not seeking a table, not reading the menu, just scanning faces. His eyes locked on Maria. His mouth tightened. Maria's fingers dug into her bag strap. Harrington slid from the booth, placing himself between them. Calm but firm. "Maria, stay behind me." The man took 2 steps forward, slow, as though he owned the room. Harrington stood tall, blocking the view. "Can I help you?" The man's eyes flicked over Harrington's suit. "I'm looking for someone." "Then you're in the wrong place," Harrington replied. The man's lips lifted. Not a smile, a warning. "Move." A few heads turned. The waitress paused, wiping the same spot on the counter. Harrington leaned slightly. "Stay seated," he whispered to Maria. "Don't speak." She nodded, eyes fixed on his back. The man stepped closer. Harrington smelled stale smoke and rain. "You don't know who you're standing in front of," the man said. "I know you're bothering my employee," Harrington answered. The word employee made Maria flinch. She had feared rich houses with mouths. Now he used that voice. He saw her reaction and regretted it, but he needed the man to know Maria was protected. The man laughed once. "Employee. That's cute." He spoke toward Maria without seeing her fully. "Maria, come on. Stop playing." Maria's breath caught. Harrington raised a hand. "You will not speak to her. If you have business, speak to me." The man's eyes narrowed. "This has nothing to do with you." "It does now." For a moment, the man sized Harrington up. Suit, watch, calm. Then his gaze sharpened. "So this is the new game. Hiding behind rich men." Maria's voice came small. "Stop." Harrington did not turn, but he heard the tremble. He hated that she had spoken. It fed the man. The man stepped forward. "There you are. Let's talk outside. Just you and me." Harrington blocked the path. "No." The man's jaw clenched. "Move," he said louder. The waitress approached, hands shaking on a pitcher. "Sir, is everything okay?" Harrington looked at her. "Please call the police." The word police landed like stone. The man's face shifted, anger, then forced calm. He raised both hands. "Police? For what? I'm just trying to talk to someone I know." "You're scaring her," Harrington said. The man laughed. "Scaring her? She's good at acting scared." Maria's nails dug deeper. She spoke again, low. "His name is Victor. He's why I ran." Harrington felt the room tighten. Not because everyone heard, but because Maria had named him. Victor's eyes snapped to her. "Don't say my name." Harrington heard the threat. This was not a simple argument. This was ownership trying to reclaim. The waitress backed away, heading for the phone. Plates went quiet. The diner held its breath. Harrington leaned closer to Victor, not touching, words sharp. "You will walk out that door. Right now." Victor's eyes moved to the window, measuring. "And if I don't, then you explain yourself to officers. On camera. This place has them. My lawyers will request every frame." Victor's mouth twitched. He was unused to resistance. He glanced at Maria. "You think he can protect you? He'll get bored. They always do." Maria's voice was a whisper. "He is not you." The words were quiet, but they struck Victor hard. His eyes flattened. He stepped back, then another, like deciding between rage and retreat. The bell rang again. The waitress returned, phone in hand. "They're on the way." Victor raised his chin. "Fine. I'm leaving." He backed to the door, eyes on Maria. "But you can't hide forever." He pushed through and vanished into the night. Harrington stood still, listening to his pulse, to the diner slowly resuming. Maria's shoulders dropped. She covered her face for a second, then lowered her hands, ashamed of the vulnerability. Harrington slid back into the booth. "Are you hurt?" Maria shook her head. "No, but now he knows where I work." Harrington nodded, the reality settling. "He won't come near my house. I'll make sure." Maria met his eyes, wet but steady. "He was already near your neighborhood. He'll come again." Outside, sirens grew, then lights flashed across the windows. Harrington thought of Sophia and Elena sleeping at home, trusting the world was safe. For the first time, he feared, not for wealth, but for 2 small beds upstairs. He understood now. The danger was no longer under the overpass. It had followed Maria into his world, and into his daughter's home. When the officers entered, Harrington rose to meet them. Maria stayed seated, hands tight, staring at the table as though it could anchor her. Harrington explained. A man entered, cornered his employee, refused to leave until police were called. One officer asked Maria if she knew him. Maria looked at Harrington, silent. He nodded. Her name is Maria. The man is Victor. She left him for her safety. The officer noted it. Maria, do you want to file a report? Maria swallowed. If I do, he'll get worse. He's already worse, Harrington said. And you are not alone. The second officer glanced outside. Victor stood across the street, watching, not fleeing, just staring, like a promise this was unfinished. The officers spoke to him outside, then returned. We warned him to stay away. If he returns, call us. Maria, you can file now or later. Harrington asked if they could escort them home. One agreed. On the drive, Maria clutched her bag like a shield. Harrington kept the radio off. At the gate, security opened quickly at the sight of the patrol car. Mrs. Langley waited at the door, worry etched on her face. Harrington stepped aside for Maria. Maria will stay tonight. Maria flinched. I can use the staff room. No, Harrington said. The guest suite near my study. It locks. Mrs. Langley nodded. I'll prepare it. She led Maria away. Harrington climbed the stairs to check on Sophia and Elena. Both slept, faces soft. He lingered, fear and love twisting inside him. Then small footsteps. Elena appeared first, rubbing her eyes. Sophia followed. Dad, Elena whispered, is Maria here? Yes, Harrington said. She's here. The girls moved past him, purposeful. Harrington followed downstairs. Maria sat in the living room, tea untouched, staring at the dark window. Sophia climbed onto the sofa beside her. Elena took the other side. They leaned in without words, like their bodies knew safety. Maria froze, then softened. She wrapped an arm around each girl. Elena mumbled, "Storm man." Maria looked at Harrington, confused. "A man followed her tonight," Harrington said. Sophia sat up. "Did he talk to her?" Harrington nodded. "Yes. But he left." Sophia's face hardened. "Maria is our sleep." Maria's tears fell. She wiped them quickly. Elena touched her cheek. "Don't go." Maria's voice cracked. "I never wanted to leave you. I just didn't think I was allowed to stay." Harrington felt something break inside him. He sat across from them. "Maria, tell me the truth. What did Victor do?" Maria stared at the floor for a long time. Then she spoke in fragments. She said Victor began kind, then turned controlling. He monitored her phone. He took her earnings. He appeared at her jobs to humiliate her. When she tried to leave, he threatened to drag her back. One night, she fled with only her bag and her book. She never returned. The girls stayed close, listening with open hearts, even if they did not grasp every detail. Harrington sat with the truth like a stone. He remembered how other nannies spoke of rules while his daughters stared through them. He remembered their mother, sitting on this same rug years ago, reading in a gentle voice. On the night of the accident, Harrington had been at a meeting he could have missed. Since then, he had tried to mend grief with money, and made the house louder. He stepped into his study, voice low. He called security, extra guards, cameras checked, every vehicle logged. He called his lawyer, restraining order, support for Maria to file safely. He returned to the living room. "I won't use your pain as gossip," he told Maria. "I won't ask you to prove anything. I will handle what I can. You heal at your pace. If you say stop, I stop, always." Maria took a shaky breath. "I don't want pity." "You won't get pity," Harrington said. "You'll get protection. And respect." Sophia yawned. "Can we do the corner?" Maria nodded. She spread the blanket, dimmed the lamp, sat against the wall. Sophia and Elena curled beside her. Maria opened her book. Tonight, we tell a story about a house that learned how to rest. The girls smiled, sleepy. Their breathing slowed. Soon, they slept. Harrington stood in the doorway, silent guardian. He watched Maria's hand rest gently on Elena's back, careful, knowing fear in darkness. Before dawn, Harrington woke and went downstairs. Maria had not used the guest room. She had fallen asleep on the sofa, blanket around her, Sophia's head on her shoulder, Elena's hand on her sleeve. Harrington stood motionless. The sight struck deep. His daughters had stopped fighting sleep because someone had stopped fighting them. He made tea, set a cup nearby. When Maria woke, she sat up carefully, not disturbing the girls. Harrington spoke softly. This is your home now, if you want it. Not because you fixed something. Because my daughters chose you. And I agree. Maria's lips trembled. What if he comes again? Then he meets the law, Harrington said. And he meets me. Maria looked at the sleeping girls, then at Harrington. I don't have much. Just this book and these hands. Harrington nodded. That is more than enough. You gave my daughters rest. You gave this house warmth again. Maria exhaled, as though releasing years of held breath. Thank you. Harrington sat nearby and waited. Morning came as always. But inside, something had shifted. Not dramatic, not perfect, just true. Maria was safe, for today. The girls slept peacefully, and Harrington finally understood what wealth was for. Not to control everything, but to shield those he could not lose. Dear viewers, this story is not just about a billionaire, two sleepless girls, and a housekeeper named Maria. It is about what happens when we stop trying to control pain and start trying to understand it. Harrington had money, high walls, every expert money could buy. Yet his daughters still could not sleep. That teaches a powerful lesson. Some wounds are not healed by power. They are healed by presence. Maria did not arrive with credentials or polish. She came with patience, a gentle voice, and a heart that knew fear in the dark. That is why Sophia and Elena finally rested. Another lesson. You never truly know what someone carries when they leave your sight. Maria brought peace to children, yet she had no peace for herself. Many people you pass every day, the cleaner, the driver, the cashier, the guard, may smile, do their work well, but fight silent battles. Kindness is not weakness, it is wisdom. This story also shows that healing is rarely loud. Sometimes it is a low lamp, a blanket on the floor, and someone who stays calm when everyone else is weary. If you are a parent, a caregiver, or simply a friend, remember, children and hurting hearts do not always need commands. They need safety. They need someone who listens, who does not rush them, who makes them feel seen. And the greatest lesson is dignity. Maria did not want pity. She wanted respect. Help is most powerful when it comes with honor, not shame. Harrington learned that being rich means responsibility, the responsibility to protect, not to ignore. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Where are you watching from, and what did this story teach you? Your words help this channel grow and give hope to others facing their own dark nights. If this touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs hope today. If you want more stories like this, comment, more stories, and you'll be the first to know when we release the next emotional tale. Before you go, answer these 3 questions in the comments. Which moment touched you most, Maria calming the twins, or Harrington discovering her truth? If you were Harrington, what would you have done the moment you learned Maria had no home? What lesson from this story will you carry into your life starting today? Thank you for watching. Sleep well tonight.